My mother died 6 months before we moved away from where we had been living, and basically it was just a question of timing. We had to bury her. Her body had to go somewhere, and so she was buried in Hanover. And then we went to Andover and picked out the lot where our new house was going to be built. I asked the real estate agent about cemeteries in the area. I told her that I was going to have to move my mother up with us, and she looked me right in the face and said, "That's the first time I've ever been asked that." But it's like, I'm living here now, but I'm moving away, and this is where my mother has to be buried because she died now. But I'm moving to Andover, and she's coming with us. But see, it wasn't permanent. It wasn't permanent when we buried her there. We buried her there because that's where we lived when she died. She had the normal wake that my family and Bob's family and our friends came to, and she had a mass, and she was buried in the cemetery. But from the day she was buried, I knew she wasn't going to stay down there, but I had to put her somewhere. I couldn't put her in the front lawn.
Why document something like this? Why not leave it alone? Well, I guess it's important to note that I was the one that asked if I could. But in the end, my mother was the one to make the decision. She announced it after dinner. My father had died 5 months before, so now was the time. My grandmother would be moved from Hanover to Andover. Before the disinterment happened, I found myself frequently bringing the subject up in conversation. I would bring it up in a self-conscious, almost coy way, nearly grinning as I used the phrase, "dug their bodies up." Accordingly, friends responded with their own stories. One friend mentioned that during high school, a friend of a friend had pulled a human skull out of a closet and placed it in his lap. Another friend said that his grandfather's ashes had been sitting in the trunk of his car for nearly 2 years. The last time I brought it up, my friend was more adamant in his disapproval. It's an attempt to go back in time, he said, an unrealistic, almost fetishistic way of thinking about a corpse. Once somebody is gone, they're gone.
My mother had always made me promise that I would not bury her with her mother and father in New York because of all that had come of that. She married not for love, but to get out of the house. And then she had a love affair. And that man, the man who was my real father, he remained married to his wife. So I was the one true thing that she had. Did I mind the fact that it was her and I against the world? No. That was fine. For all of her crazy tempers and instabilities and insecurities, I knew that she loved me totally and completely. She loved me. And she was crazy. And she was crazy.